welcome back to Living Luxuriously for Less, where we celebrate, decorate, and enjoy everyday life for less. Well, you guys know I've been bringing you some exciting content as we start to approach wedding season. We are so excited. Like, I'm here with my friend Keelan from Keelan Walker Photography, and after the past year that we've had, like, we both are super stoked about wedding season, and I thought that today would be a great day to talk to you guys about choosing the right photographer and the things you should look for in a photographer. And who better to talk about it than Keelan, who's like the photographer extraordinaire. Like, he does some extremely amazing photos. A lot of the photos you guys see here on my channel are taken by him. So yeah, we're gonna interview him today and ask him some questions about, some tips, like ask him to give us some tips around how to choose the right photographer and like some of the things that we should look for as planners or DIY brides when you're choosing photographers for your wedding day. So, all right, Keelan, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you scared?
No, I'm ready for it. I'm super excited to be jumping back into the weddings this year. Like Melanie said, we're really excited. We've got some awesome weddings scheduled, so.
All right, so one of the things, like when I think about a wedding photographer, like what do you think the number one thing that an event planner, because a lot of times planners help select, wedding photographers, or a bride should look for in a photographer?
So I think the number one thing you want to look for is making sure your style aligns. Make sure that whoever is helping you plan your wedding or coordinate your wedding understands the style and the vision that you want for your event, because that'll play a huge part in choosing a videographer and a photographer.
Okay, good. And like, when it comes to photography, I know like when you're planning out your budget, what % of that budget should a photographer hold, in your opinion?
I'd say a pretty good portion.
Me too.
A pretty good portion, because photos and videos all you're going to have to remember the event. So
yes. And
definitely splurge a little bit and invest in
your photography. Yeah. Like, even though I'm an event decorator / designer, my clients will tell you, I've told them this before, like, if you have to cut, don't let it be your photography, because
exactly.
Like, if you cutting your photography is going to show. It doesn't matter how good the decor looks, or it doesn't matter how fly your makeup or your hair looks. Like, if you don't have a good photographer, they're not going to be able to capture all of that. So definitely make sure that when you're allocating your budget, don't get to photography and start to skimp. Like, even with the weddings that I'm assisting clients with, I'll tell them, like, if you need to cut out something, like cut out some of the aspects of decor, because a good photographer can make your decorations look good. I think one of the things you would talk about, and I'm going to ask you about this, like, if it was one thing that you think a bride should invest in terms of decor, what is that one item?
Flowers. Because we take flowers and we can stylize the whole wedding. We use the bridal bouquet. We've put them on reception tables to make the details look more extreme than they really are. Flowers, 100%. Invest in.
Yeah, because you can take it, and the bride, if you have a beautiful bouquet, not a beautiful bouquet, but a beautiful bouquet, you can take that bouquet and have your wedding portrait taken in that. I've seen Keelan take them and put them on like the first chair of the wedding to take a photo. Like he said, on the tables to take photos, next to the cake to take photos.
Yes.
So you're like, your bridal bouquet really goes a long way. And if you're going to, when it comes to your flowers, like, make sure you get an awesome bridal bouquet.
Yes, the bridesmaids' flowers aren't near as important as your flowers, so make sure you spend money to make your flowers the highlight. That's what we're going to focus on when we photograph them anyway. So.
Awesome. Next question: when it comes to the wedding day timeline, like as a planner, I run into this so much where people don't really allocate the time on their wedding day to get those money shots. So what do you think? And I know you have this magazine here that you pass out to your brides, but can you just kind of share a few pointers in terms of making sure you schedule enough time for photography?
Yes, so that is a huge important thing. And also too, one of the things you might want to ask your photographer when you're searching around is, are you going to help me schedule enough portrait time? How much portrait time do you need? And kind of finding out what your photographer requires of you and your planner as you make that timeline. But I've been to weddings before where the timelines have been terrible. So I started helping clients with their wedding day timeline and telling them I need 30 minutes for family formals, 30 minutes for bride and groom, bridal party, different things like that, and I just kind of base it on how big the bridal party is. But a timeline is a huge, huge important thing.
Yes. So don't skimp on that. Like if you don't have a planner or you're planning yourself, having a photographer that can help you curate that timeline is so important. Because you want to make sure that if you're making this investment that you're getting the right photos on your wedding day, and having that wedding day shot list down.
Important.
Yeah, it's so important, which brings me to my next question. Having a wedding day shot list is so important because you look at these photos and you think, oh, that's an awesome photo, but on the wedding day things go so quickly, it's hard to keep track of all the different types of photos that you want. So Keelan, what do you think are some of the must-have photos? I know, for me, and I love photojournalistic wedding photos, but I also think traditional wedding photos are important as well. The ones that you take, your family formal photos, because those are the photos that when my mom passed away, I was able to use those photos on her obituary. I was able to, have those moments with the family members, having those formal photos were so important outside of just the bridal party. So what are some of the must-have shots that you think need to be included on that shot list, number one? And number two, where's a great place to go, or great resource for brides to kind of pull together a good shot list?
Yeah, so speaking in terms of shot list, I always tell my brides the easiest way to make a family shot list is as you start to plan the wedding, who's going to attend the wedding and send out invitations, jot those names down. Make a list and call people by name, Aunt Mary, Uncle Joe, with bride and groom, uncles, so make a list and give that to the photographer so that way they can call people out on the wedding day, get them posed, take that photo, and you can rest assured that you haven't forgotten anyone. And I think photo lists are important. We have brides that still send me photo lists of things that they want. Sometimes they send things that are things we're going to photograph anyway, but it's still good to be reminded and understand the importance of it. So, okay. But I'd say of course, I feel like family formals are a really important part of the wedding day. Of course, first looks. I really love first looks. It just gives you so many more portraits to work with.
Awesome. And so we're going to just kind of share with you guys, we're going to pause for a moment and share some of Keelan's, top first look photos here so you guys can kind of get an example of what he means by first look. So these are some of his favorite first looks of all times. Okay.
Yeah. If you want to go ahead?
No, go ahead.
Okay. If you're considering a first look, or if you have in the back of your mind, maybe I want to do it, maybe I don't, I'm just going to tell you, go ahead and do it, especially if you have an outdoor wedding. I tell my couples that by doing a first look, you're going to get 80% more portraits than you would if you didn't do a first look. And we've been to weddings where they didn't have a first look planned and something happened, whether it rained that afternoon and we were no longer able to go outside and take portraits. Everything was done in the church. We had one wedding where the groom burnt his hand with sparklers, so we weren't able to. So many things can happen. Yes. So I've seen it all. Seen some pretty crazy stuff. So. And the most important thing is you've invested all this money into your wedding. You've invested this money in all your vendors. So use every opportunity you can to get as many portraits out of your wedding day as you can, because that's all you're going to have to remember the most important day of your life.
And that is so important. And then one of the other things that I kind of wanted to touch on was we all know that unfortunate things can happen on the day of the wedding, and including the photographer getting sick, COVID. How important is asking that photographer if they have a second shooter, and then asking for some references in terms of the work of that second shooter?
Yes, so that is something that definitely should be discussed. And any photographer that's been into this for a while should have something like this in their contract. But just to give you guys an idea, so I do have a second shooter, and I also have second shot with other local photographers. So if something were to happen to me, Catherine, who's my second shooter, she would step up as a primary photographer, and then I would just hire a local photographer to step in for me. I'd still be the one in charge of doing all the editing. They would return the photos back to me if something were to happen like that. So it is important to make sure that your photographer does have a backup plan, that they have a game plan, that you are aware of that, because things can happen. I second shot for a friend this summer that she got COVID, so she wasn't able to shoot the wedding. So, so that it's important that your photographer has a circle or someone that they can rely on to be there if they're not able to.
Yes, and that is outlined in the contract, as you read your contract. So another thing that I loved is Keelan has a magazine that once its brides sign on, they have like an entire, it's called the Wedding Experience, and it's a guide for all Keelan Walker brides. And inside of this magazine, he has like tons of tips and ideas and photos and lists and all of that. So I think, having some type of tool like that is so important, when you're choosing the photographer for your wedding day. So, yeah.
So I feel like it's a photographer's job to educate clients on what to expect, because a lot of clients are going into weddings. This is their first wedding. Maybe they've been a bridesmaid before or a groomsman, but they have not had their own wedding in most cases. So, a lot of times they look to us as a vendors for advice because we're there. We see the behind the scenes that a lot of times they don't see. So after answering thousands and thousands of emails over and over, I created this bridal guide, and it just kind of talks about the importance of a first look. It gives examples of timelines before the time change as well as timelines after the time change, because that's one thing you have to keep in mind when planning your wedding. It talks about family formals. It talks about how you can use your bridal bouquet to stylize different parts of the wedding day. There's so many good things in here. It talks about like portrait locations, trusting your photographer. I've been to weddings before where we've pulled over on the side of the road and photographed against this like old, ugly looking thing, but when you look back at the pictures, you had no idea. So it talks about like rain backup plans, all kinds of stuff. Dad and daughter first look, timing tips, day of reminders. It kind of reminds you like, have your rings cleaned, have everything in one corner of the room when we arrive so we can start detail photos. So
that is so important.
Important.
Your detail photos, like your ring, your bouquet, your garter, your invitation. A lot of you guys forget to get professional photos taken of your invitation, and that is so important. Even the tablescape, you're spending a lot of money on the decor, but you need to have like professional photos of those things done. So that is so important, you guys. And I'm telling you, like, if you're local, Keelan Walker is definitely like my go-to person. If you're not local, I'm so sorry, but he will travel.
I'll travel, yeah. I'll come to you.
He'll travel if it's where the money reside, okay?
I'll pack my bags. No, but seriously, if you want to become your photographer's best friend, all your details, your invitations, anything, rings, his rings, boutonnieres, flowers, have all of that stuff, put it in a bag, sit it in a corner. That way when your photographer arrives, you can say, hey, all the details you need to get started are right here. Because a lot of times when we arrive to weddings, brides are getting their hair and makeup done, and I hate to bombard and ask a ton of questions. Do you have your ring? Do you have his ring? So do you have a hanger? Do you have invitations? So there's so many things that we need. So if you can just have all that together and in one corner, that would be awesome. And you can ask your photographer what they need ahead of time, or you can even look up a list of
things
stuff
to do. And I'll share with you guys, like, one of the things that I have for my bride is I have a bridal list. Like, I have a shopping list, and they put all those things in a container. So in that container, it's like a little small clear, almost like a shoebox type of container, but a little bit bigger. They have their shoes, they have veils, they have everything, right? And then I also pick fabrics that match it as an event planner, so they can use it to like style the photos, to do like flat lay photography and things like that. So having those things are so imperative, so you can get those detail shots in the end. So did you have anything else you wanted to add, Keelan?
I can't think of anything.
Okay, awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I would love to, for you guys to ask any photography related questions that you may have down into the comments below. And then, maybe Keelan and I will do a follow-up video if that's something you guys are interested in. And maybe he'll jump down in the comments and answer some of your questions as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, it's Melanie from Living Luxuriously for Less. Bye-bye.
Bye.